everybody. Happy Thursday. How are you? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day. Just hello. I am so excited to see you all. And as you can tell from the title, this is a premiere. So, Future Purple, let everybody know you're in chat. So, there we go. Thank you, Future Purple. But to everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I have an amazing guest. And you all know I love interviewing my other fellow women gamers, and we have a phenomenal one today. So please, with a warm welcome, we are going to introduce the one, the only Zarina. How are you, Zarina?
Hi, I'm doing very well. How are you?
Doing well. I am like super excited to do this. I asked you and we got like the way this all came together was super awesome. And I think that's like sometimes the best way to do it. Like it just like comes together. So um for a lot of the chat, some people really know you, right? You are part of that Canadian crew of gamers, that Ninja Guy X, John Scars, you know, maybe even Jeff Janak if he gets thrown in there. You're right. Rudix, there's a whole bunch of them. Granite, Rabalica. There's a like I'm just going through
Yeah,
the names.
the whole
Um,
community.
yeah, a very strong one, very
Yeah.
tight-knit one. Um, but you've now recently started to, I guess, put together your own like co-hosting shows and being more out there. So I know we're going to talk about that. But for everyone else, you know, who is Zarina? Like, I'm assuming that's your gamer tag, but if it's not, that is like probably the most awesomest name ever we've had come on the show. But like, who are you as a gamer? How would you describe yourself? And where did this awesome gamer tag come from?
Well, Zarina is my actual name, so it's not a super original gamer tag, but it's an original name, at least here. I have yet to meet another Zarina. So who am I? I guess I identify as a lot. I'm a gamer, obviously. A mom. I'm a family member, daughter, sister, twin sister. Um, And I've been a gamer my whole life, pretty much. My older brother, he had a Commodore 64, so we started gaming with a Commodore 64. Obviously, I'm 21 years old.
You are 21 years old. Yeah, like, but I think I told you backstage, like we're probably right around the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Uh, so so Commodore 64. And for everybody, because like people in the US, and you know this, they think everybody's like the US. They don't really think of like other countries and cultures and the gaming history that they had. How would you describe the Commodore 64 in your own like
Well, it was revolutionary to me. I mean, before that, I played on the light bright, so it was just um, how would I describe it? It had a really clunky monitor, which apparently dies if you stick a big magnet on it. That was fun.
did this
We
happen? Did this happen?
technically it wasn't me, but yes, it was a really big magnet, and my brother stuck it on the side of the CRT, and it just yeah, it was gone.
Magnets and monitors, I think, still have these issues.
Do
I don't
they?
think
I
I
won't test it
you're
out.
like one time, I saw it one time. I am not doing it again.
That was enough.
Yeah, so I
uh,
don't blame you.
Well, it
But
was it was revolutionary at the time, at least it was for me. But I mean, looking back now, of course, games have come so far in terms of graphics, in terms of the complication of the story, and even the controller. I mean, it was a joystick with a red button. I mean, it was really simple. But for me, it was an escape, and I played with my twin sister a lot. Our
twin
my
tw
yes,
twin
twin
sister.
sister.
So, I
Yeah.
think this is so cool, and we were talking about this in backstage. So, we have Squids who has a twin, Holtz has a twin, you have the Rudiglets who are the triplets of Rudigs, and I think there's another 2 twins groupings that
Uh,
I cannot remember, but that's awesome that you're now part of that list.
Yeah.
So, like, it is actually
Well,
pretty cool.
I didn't know the others were twins. That's really cool.
Yeah, they are. So obviously you're the better gamer.
N
No,
no.
no, no, no.
No, my twin sister is more skilled as a gamer than I am. Yeah.
Did
She was
she play more, or is she just more coordinated,
well,
or
I guess maybe we're a bit more equal when we were younger. We both played a lot. I think she always had a little bit more skill than I did. I mean, I was more like school book smart, and she was always like gamer and game smart, you know? So we both had we balanced each other out pretty well. I
you
helped her with
I
school
can
and she helped
see
me
the
with games.
argument right now. You're like, "I'm actually smart," and she's like, "Well, I'm cool smart."
I don't know about cool. I'm not so sure about smart, so but I'll take it. Um, yeah, so well, we played a lot together growing up, and I always had that's what was cool about having a twin. I guess that's one of the things that was cool about having a twin. I always had somebody I could play with. So no matter what was going on at home with the family, whatever, we always had our escape, and the Commodore started that. And eventually we got an NES, and of course that was like wow, like and we
Oh,
were going
wow.
to the video store renting games because that's what we did back then. We rented games because it was like even back then they were $50 or $60 each, right? It was pretty expensive back then.
No, games have always been pretty expensive.
Mm.
Even with inflation, it's like $1,000,000 today.
I know. I saw your stream about that, and I 100% agree with you. I Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom is totally worth. I guess in the US it's 70. Here it's gonna
Yes!
be
Yes! We
80
are
or
gonna talk.
90. I don't even. Yeah.
You're my best friend, Zarina. Thank you.
No, but like you said, uh, when I was growing up, a game on NES was like 50 or 60. I don't remember. Like you said, with inflation, that would be so much more right now. But we've been really lucky. The prices of games has gone up, has inched up over time. But inflation has, I mean, it used to cost like 25 cents. No, okay, I'm not that old. Like a couple.
It's like 25 cents for a steak dinner. Okay. Like,
Well, McDonald's Happy Meal used to be cheap, right? It used to
right.
be. And now it's like you go with the whole family and you spend like $40. Like I guess depends on how many people you have in family. But for myself, I have two young kids and my husband and myself. So it costs like $40 to go to McDonald's. It's not cheap anymore. But anyway, I digress. Going back to the McDonald's in the past, it was super cheap. But now it's so much more expensive. Everything else is so much more expensive. Gas. God, am I allowed to say that?
You can
Gosh.
say whatever you want to say. This is your episode of Shades of Purple.
Okay. Purple is a very cool color, by the way. It's my mother's favorite color. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank
um, yeah, so the price of games now, we should be paying a lot more than we are for games. And if you think about what a game was back then, sure, we got a lot of hours out of a game because they were unforgiving and took forever to finish. But if you think of the complexity of the games that were back then, uh, they're nothing compared to what you have now. Just look at the graphics. I mean, like Pong, dun, 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 there was just like a line in a circle, you know. And now you get a whole world, literally a whole open world with beautifully stunning graphics, and it's only like $20 or $30 more expensive than it was 20, 30 years ago. You know, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
Worth
Thank
it.
you. We are going to talk about you mentioned it, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but y'all, if you haven't noticed, there's a little thing signaling to the Zelda. You know. So, we're going to ask the question. We do this with everybody, but we'll get to that in a second about Zelda and what in the other Nintendo franchise. I forget the name right now. But I don't there's people in chat. Ambi right now is literally probably pissed off at me because they are a firm believer in another franchise. But so you talked about NES, right? Because I could say, "What's your favorite Commodore 64 game?" And people would be like, "Purple, we don't know what that is." So the NES, a lot of people know NES. Um, back then I had like I think my brother and I had like 3 or 4 games. We also would always go to the video store, rent a game. It's always Ninja Turtles. We always go rent that game. But for you, what are the games you remember playing on NES?
On NES. Well, I'll still answer for Commodore 64 because that one, PC's Quest for Tires.
Okay.
That was my favorite. I still remember to this day, and I found an emulator and I played it, and I was super happy. My husband is like, "This is not fun. You are wrong." It was so much fun. Uh, but NES. Let's see. We used to rent them at the video store pretty often. So we played a lot of games, and there was a lot of turnover. But the ones we kept going back to, it was kind of silly. I don't know if you've ever heard of caveman games.
Caveman games. I think I have, but let me look this up. Caveman games on NES.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I see. Oh, I do remember. Was this the one with the this was like a sexual like was this that one? Like
No,
no, no, no,
I
no,
was
not like
excited for
sexual.
Paul. I was
No, but you definitely had like a guy. I see the
um,
guy.
it was like okay, sort of like Olympics, but caveman style Olympics. So
Okay,
you'd
this
have
was
to
not the
like,
game I was thinking of.
no, no, really not. um, no, like I remember one you had to throw your you had to throw your spouse. So I had the controller and I was like turning around and around and around throw. So you had to try to throw your spouse as far as possible. Another one was
This could be the game I was talking about, Zarina, now that I think about it,
well,
'cause
that's why I paused because it kind of does sound like that. But an another another challenge was there was a bobcat chasing you and you had to outrun it. That was pretty brutal because it just totally tore you apart if you fell behind. But yeah,
good
but
incentive.
uh, it was fun. Maybe not child appropriate now that I think of it, but that was one that stands out. Bubble Bobble,
Bobble
um,
Bobble, okay. Wow,
Mario for sure, Donkey Kong, uh, Tetris. Tetris I played more on the Game Boy though. I played it a
Tetris.
lot more on the Game Boy.
What about so a lot of people who play Tetris on NES, especially our Game Boy, did you ever play Dr. Mario?
I did. Not as much, but yeah, I did.
I always used to so I wasn't necessarily a Tetris gamer, but I always wondered, like, what's the difference? Like, was it the same type of deal or was it I don't
It
know.
would you had the pills coming down and you can turn them around to switch the color. So it was like yellow, white and red, and you could switch it around to match the color with the one on the side. But there weren't they were all the same shape. They're all these little pills as far as I remember. So it was just always a two color piece. You
And
didn't have
you
like the
would just
four, yeah. Yeah, so you can land this way or that way, but that's it. And you didn't have different shapes like you do in Tetris. And you could, I think you could play two players as well. In Tetris on the Game Boy, two players was really fun though. So when my sister got a Game Boy, we used to connect the two and play together. And then if you got like a Tetris, for example, her level would go up by like four. So
yes.
yeah, so it was very competitive. Like you kind of screw each other over as you play, and it was just really it was a lot of fun. I was usually the one who died, but sometimes I won. So
Oh my that must be so
it was
so
fun.
were you all both, like, similar gamers? Like, where you played similar games, like, for the most part?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Pretty much always. I think we've always had very similar tastes in terms of games, movies, books, things like that. It's very similar, yeah. Um yeah, I can't think of anything else. But on the NES, we also had that cartridge that I think the legality was questionable, the one that had 100 like 110 games. But
That
the
that is
names
definitely sounds about like Nintendo. Uh,
yeah.
so
But the names were changed. I think that was how it was possibly legal because you didn't know what game it was until you started playing it because the name was completely like it was completely weird. But yeah, so I guess we played a lot of that one as well. Oh, Bomberman. Bomberman is one we played.
Bomberman, you like that.
Oh yeah, we played a lot. We had, I don't know, I don't know how many levels it had, like 100 or something. And my sister
Millions.
and I, we would keep it on for weeks at a time. Like nobody could shut off the Nintendo. They had to stay on. And we had a list going. We had for every level which what the secret ability was, because every level after you completed, there was one hidden item somewhere under one of the rocks that you could pick up, and it had like a special ability. So we tracked for every single level what that special ability was. But you had to break all the bricks or most of the bricks to find it because it was hiding somewhere. So I don't know how many hours we put into that, but we loved Bomberman.
I just wanna, like, give a shout out to for everybody in chat who remembers those times where there was no autosave. There was no like memory card. There was like no cloud storage saves. Like Zarina and her sister were willing to break a fire code to keep a game. That game was that NES was probably so hot.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know,
Oh
like
yeah.
you think about like I know exactly like probably second degree burn level hot if you
Oh
touch
yeah.
it. Like,
There
you
was no
know,
touching it.
don't touch it. No vacuuming. Don't do anything
Stay away
by
from the cord.
like, yes. And so I know there was no codes. Like, eventually they got like, okay, if you beat this level, put this code, you can jump up to here, right? Then you had like Game Genie, where some of them had like, put the code in, jump to this level. This is hardcore. Like, definitely, this is what would I say? This is the grind, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, um, and that, everybody, was $60 games. So,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
was, except for that 110 cartridge.
uh, I saw these for the first time. Where was I? It was way past the NES. I think I saw these for the first time in like Korea or somewhere where they had these cartridges, and it was like the whole library, right? And I think they got even bigger than 110. Like they started putting like 240 games on here or something. So but I never know I never got it because I didn't have an NES at the time when I was in Korea. But uh that's interesting now that you said like they just changed the name or something. So for everybody who gets upset with Nintendo, Nintendo's been through the battle of having their stuff copyrighted, okay? Like, you are like, they have way back when, so you're just jumping in? No. Nintendo, they're after you if you're copywriting. That's all I'm gonna say. So, it's all amazing love the memory. So Game Boy, NES, so you're firmly in the Nintendo camp at this point. Uh,
Yeah, growing up for sure, for sure. And the Game Boy, I got really lucky. I had a surgery when I was a kid. I don't remember what age I was. And my dad's boss had seen me because I had to go in with him to the office at one point. I had these crutches on. It was an operation on my ankle. And he saw me and he asked my dad, like, "What's up with your daughter?" And he told her she's going to be in surgery next week. So he went out, knowing that I was going to be in the hospital for a week. He went out and bought me that Game Boy with the added game. So that was all super special to me because nobody had ever bought me anything like that before. So I had this to play with, and eventually my sister got one too, and we played two players. But so I spent a lot of time playing Super Mario Land and Tetris because those were the only two games I ever had on Game Boy.
and this is like the actual like brick Game Boy.
Oh yeah, oh
This is
yeah, the
not
thick
like a
one, no color.
no foldable, no
Oh no,
color, no Game Boy Advance. This is like the actual
OG.
brick. Yeah, it looks like calculator graphics type of deal.
Yeah,
And 4 batteries, right?
I
I
think
think,
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is solid. Do you still have it?
I do actually. Yeah.
OG right there.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Like, of course. Who do you think you're talking to?
yeah, for
So
sure.
so you do NES. Do you go to Super Nintendo? Do you go to Sega? Do you try the dark side at Game Gear? Or, like, how do you stay with
uh,
NES?
I stuck with NES, I guess. It was NES, then Game Boy, and then Super Nintendo my brother had, so I did play it a bit, but only when I was a good sister. I was a bit of a brat, a little bit,
Ooh,
me and my sister. I don't know how much was intentional, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess I was a bit of a brat. So he would let me play sometimes. He was a really good brother, and he would lend me his music, his CDs, his cassettes back then.
love it.
Um, so yeah, so I played Super NES for a bit, not so much, not for very long, and not as much as I played the others because the others were like ours, right? So we could just turn them on and keep them on for weeks at a time. It didn't matter. But his like I just had little small segments that I was able to play it, but I did play it. I never played Sega and even PlayStation. My first one was PS3.
So
and
yeah.
yeah, yeah, way down the line. And I had the N64. So I had the Nintendo 64. We played Mario 64, and what else did we play on there? I don't. My memories not aren't as clear. It's funny, hey. I'm like it was a lot more recent, but my memories are more clear of the
For the
NES than
NES than the N64.
yeah.
It's
I know I played GoldenEye. I know I played that one. But most of my time I think was Mario 64. Yeah.
No, and so obviously, and I think we're gonna get to it. So no Ocarina of Time, no Majora's Mask for
Not yet.
not yet, not yet. They haven't they didn't grip you yet. So
No.
you're in the Mario 64 land. GoldenEye, those are two still considered, I think, two very revolutionary games in their own right.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I think with GoldenEye, it was probably the first game where I don't know what you would have called it because it wasn't like an achievement system. I guess it was like an achievement system where you could beat a level, but it was like beat it in this time or beat it under these circumstances. And so you're going back and trying to beat it, to get whether it's like the golden gun or super fast ability, like you have some abilities. And I was just watching like a video of like someone like speed running the game, and it just like triggered memories of me like spending hours of trying to figure out like, okay, is there a secret door here? Like, how do I get that machine gun and that machine gun without getting hit? Um, so that you just mentioned that, and usually I bring up GoldenEye because some people like Perfect Dark, and those are similar games. But I think 64 was that's definitely a cool system, when I look back on it. Uh,
Yeah. A
yeah,
whole new level of revolution. I mean, it was you could explore by the time the 64. Yeah,
yeah,
like explore everything. You weren't as limited. It wasn't so platform like, you could really just do what you wanted, go where you wanted. Like Mario 64 was like that, right? Just to have 3D, like, what do you mean 3D Mario? 3D, like I could just walk anywhere I want. I don't get it.
no.
Changing the camera angles, like that's not something that I knew before. Like I don't know, maybe did they have camera angles in Super NES?
Super NES, you might have had it in Star Fox because of this shit, but I don't quote me on. Someone's gonna be like someone who's really knows their games. I want to say you may have had games may have not where you could shift it, but where you could maybe do a different camera angle with like a
Okay.
click of a button. Like you could have been a
Okay.
third person or for I do remember that in certain NES games and maybe or Super NES games, but not to where you controlled the camera.
Okay. And
So,
in Mario 64, there was a lot more control, not like you have today. Like
oh
I
no.
I I replayed when they re-released the Mario 64 on the Switch. I replayed it, and it was hard to go back to that camera because it was so limited in comparison to what we're used to now. But it was so much fun, and it was like the nostalgia factor was like a big wow for me. And that was actually the first game. Don't judge me. It was the first Mario game that I was able to finish. Because Super Mario Land, I never finished it, despite the number of hours I put in. And the original Mario, I can never beat 8-2. I can't beat it.
Really? Which one is that? Which level is that?
Okay, so uh, 8 was the last series. I think went to 8-3 or 8-4. I don't even know because I've never made it that far. But usually I died in 8-1, and then I died in 8-2, just because for me, like there were, how there were a lot of steps, like the brick steps you can
Yes.
go up,
Oh,
but spaces in between. That's what got me every time. I just fall between. Like I can't. You watch Ninja Guy, like even just I
Ninja
think this
Guy's
morning,
amazing at platformers.
amazing. And I was watching him play today, and he was talking to us and reading the chat and playing, and he was still like not dying. Like I don't get it. I cannot
No,
do that.
Ninja Guy at I don't know if you've ever why do I get this? Like, oh my god, there we go. Ninja I was watching so there was a game there Stadia, right? A lot of people play Stadia in Kaze or Kaze, I forget how
I
you say
say,
the name. Like,
yeah,
it's a pretty addicting game. It's a pretty solid platformer. And Ninja Guy has like the top time in like
everything.
every category.
I know.
And it's so weird because when I watch him play, he plays like well, obviously we play Fall Guy. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But what is it? Something Arc. It's not Arc Raiders. He plays some game, something Raiders all the time. It's one of his
Pixel
favorite.
Raiders? Pixel
Yes,
Junk Raider.
Pickle
Pixel
Junk
Junk
Tray.
Raider.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
think of when I saw that. I was like, what? This is like next level platforming.
yeah.
Like where you're kind of on a different level. Like the times he was getting, I was like, how is that even possible? So um shout
Kaze,
out
I
to
think,
him.
was how we were introduced to Ninja in John's community. I think that was
John
how we met him.
Fries.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna talk about John. We're gonna talk about that whole Canadian group and how y'all came, because y'all are a tight knit group, and that's why I enjoy when I can, like we play on Mondays, Fall Guys, like trying to like you know get my fair share of Canadian for the week. So so 64 is good, but then going back to the games, if I remember correctly, you jump from 64, like you stop playing, like
For a while.
for a while. And for a lot of us, right, life gets in the way, right? You
Yeah.
get busy. This is right. I think 64. I remember playing a little bit of Xbox One just because I was invited, to someone's house. And I was like, oh, this is cool. It was Halo, but I never really. This is also a time like I was separated from gaming, but then you came back during which console brought you back?
I did get a PS3 at one point, um, because of Little Big Planet. I was at someone's house and they had it, and I didn't have a Blu-ray player at the time, so it's like, well,
Of
this is a perfect
course,
time
that's
to get a
why we all
PS3,
got
right?
it.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I could play Blu-rays and I could play a game that looks really fun. These cute little sack boys. So I got that. I played it a bit here and there, but I wasn't really a gamer. I wasn't back to being a gamer, But then I had my son 2016, and I heard the Nintendo was coming out with a console that could switch between handheld and the console mode. So I was like, well, if I'm going to get back into gaming, this is a good time. Like I was on mat leave. We have a year here. And toward the end of the year, my son was going, yeah, a year. Yeah. 50, like
Did you say
51
that
weeks,
correct?
50 weeks. Yeah.
So because there's a lot of guys out there and who aren't even thinking about kids or marriage, but all the women out there, this is cute. So you just said your employer, like is the government or the employer, one of the two, provides you benefits for a year,
Yeah. It's mostly the government. Yeah.
mostly, but still that's amazing.
Yeah, it is, but it's not super easy either, right? Because I mean, of course, don't get me wrong, we are very lucky to have this. Very lucky. I can't imagine having to go back to work after a few weeks because you can't afford the time off. It's just I can't even imagine how people do that. Um, but we get less and less as the time goes on. So for half of the year, we're going on half of our salary. So it's a long time to go on just half a salary, right?
Right.
So it's not that it's not super easy, but I mean, we're also pretty lucky that we have it. And if you want to go back early, you can go back early. So it's pretty flexible. Um, but toward the end of my year, my son was starting daycare, right? Because eventually I had to go back to work, and I wouldn't uh, be able to keep him at home. So since he was going to daycare, we started him off slowly, like a half day here, half day there, full day, whatever. So I need something to do during the day. So I was like, well, it's perfect. So the Nintendo Switch is coming out. It came out, I think it was around March, right? And
2017, March
yeah,
2017.
there you go. And then I was going back to work in April. So I had like a month to play with this thing. And I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. And I got it mostly because of the Mario game, because I was like, oh, this reminds me a lot of Mario 64, and I love that game, right? So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna get Mario, but it only came out later that year, like October, November-ish, somewhere around there.
Holiday season.
But yeah, yeah, there we go. So much later, so I thought, okay, well, what's coming out now? Oh, this Zelda game looks kind of cool. Never played Zelda before, but heard a lot of good things.
We share a Z in our name.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Well, we call it Zed here in Canada, but
Uh,
yeah.
okay.
Except Lady Z. I don't know why. In Lady Z, I just call it Lady Zed. Sounds kind of
Ladies, well, it
Yeah.
works. It works.
Lady Z is better. Um, so I started playing Zelda Breath of the Wild and I got lost in it. I got lost in it. I stayed up late. I was playing the whole time my son was in daycare. That's what I was doing, you know. Or if he slept a lot, so I would play every like, oh, he's sleeping. Turn it on, play for a little bit. So
Wait,
I
were
was like
you a
immersed.
handheld Zelda game player? Or so
No, but I had the pro controller.
you had the pro
So
control.
yeah,
Okay,
so it
you're
was
smart. You
usually
went with the pro controller because, yeah, that's a smart way to do it. So,
so I never had the drift problem because I rarely ever play with my like the Joy Cons. The Pro controller never had that issue, at least not for me. I don't know. So yeah, so I played it a lot, and I got lost in it. I love the world so much, so much. I mean, like I'm all
what?
yeah, I'm all
What?
Zelda. I'm all Zelda now. This was made by Bruce, actually. You could see it.
Bruce Campbell?
Yeah, and
Or
Bruce Campbell.
no, which
No,
Bruce?
Bruce from the gaming Scarmy.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
he makes these. He makes them actually bigger, but we had a Scarmy Secret Santa, and he was my Secret Santa, and he sent me these in the mail. One
If
like this, and one that goes on my tree, my
y'all
Christmas
don't
tree.
know, that's a Triforce.
It's Triforce.
It's a Triforce. It's
It's
actually
magical.
it's a thing. It's a thing. A lot of power there, connects
Yeah.
the universes together. It's a lot of it's science. So, so Zelda, Zelda Breath of the Wild is it, you know, a lot of people, because the gaming world, like, of adult gamers is kind of weird, right? You have people who are like Nintendo fans, like they get to relive some of their childhood. The games are still very engaging. Like, just Nintendo, in my opinion, if y'all did not know, is my favorite gaming company. Shh, chat, it's my favorite. But I just love how they do things. And there's a lot of other gamers out there who are like, "Oh, it's a kid's game. It's not that difficult." And it's like, Breath of the Wild's actually a pretty solid challenge. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of throws you out there, survival mode. You're kind of like wandering around. I don't know about you, but I spent probably a solid 10 hours in that first, plateau area. You know what I'm talking about? Before you, like,
Yeah.
go off into the real world, and
Yeah. Yeah.
which is really like the real world. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. Like, I just remember just being like, "Whoa, this is like a jump," just like everything, and just
Yeah.
discovering things. Um, and I don't know how much you've played it. Like, you've obviously beat the game.
Yeah.
Did you get everything? Did you finish everything in the game?
I didn't get all the Korok seeds yet.
Oh, well, there's like 900.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
So
Uh,
I haven't gotten them all yet, but yeah, and I have the guide. So when I didn't know what to do or where to go next, I would follow my guide, and it's such a beautiful guide. It was really well made. So I followed that a lot to get some of the side quests because I mean, like I made my house. I was like, I can make a
oh
house.
my gosh, the whole village where you make the village and you have all the is that what you mean when you made your house?
Well, just the actual house that's in the village. It's like
Oh, yes.
over the little pond, yeah, the little river or whatever. I don't remember now. Yeah, but
Yeah,
you had to really farm to get that.
a lot of wood in that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So I spent a lot of time in that one, and like you said, you spent like 10 hours in the plateau area. I probably did too. I mean, just every little step that you could advance was just I don't know. I can't think of a word better than beautiful. It was such a beautiful game. Everything
It's
about it.
amazing.
Like you just fall in love. You fall in love with him, with the world, with the little characters, the little Korok, cute little Korok seeds, and like I just loved it. And when you get the I don't even know what to call it, the glider, like
Yeah.
just that was like, whoa, I could do what now? So I was like, I don't know how many times
Or
I
the
went back up
king
that.
gives it to you. The king gives it to you. He's like, "Here you go."
I don't know how many times I climbed up that tower and flew right off again because it was just like I could hang glide. So
Yeah.
it was beautiful. And just looking around the art was stunning, like the colors, everything. So I really lost myself in it. And so that's what brought me back. I just got more and more games, and then I ended up getting more games on the PS3. I haven't played a lot of them yet because being a parent, and now I have two. I had only one at the time, but now I have two, and they're young, and it takes a lot of my time away from me, basically. Like anything I love, like I love to read, I love movies, I love games. Um, so I don't have as much time as I would like. So my backlog just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But it's really important for me to find some time, hopefully every day if I can, even if it's just an hour, just to do my daily things. Or, I mean, I play Animal Crossing still, and I play Fall Guys. I try to um, get the.
Which, by the way, you're really good at Fall Guys. So if y'all don't know,
I know.
Zarina wins at least one round every single time we. I feel like you've won a couple of times. You
I've
know,
won a couple of times, but I don't win that much because I get I get nervous and I don't perform well under pressure. In real life, I guess I do, but not in video games. I just I get stressed out and I make mistakes a lot. So I end up I when I play Fall Guys, I can always not always, but I often make it to the last round, but then I usually just choke. I do something stupid and I die. But so I'm not very good. My sister is really good. She doesn't get as stressed as I do, or she does, but she doesn't react as badly as I do. She doesn't, make mistakes as much as I do. So she's a lot better, and she has a little bit more time to play. She has one daughter. So I guess as soon as one's sleeping, you can play. But if I'm have one that's sleeping, the other one's awake. So
uh,
it's a bit harder to find time to play. But uh, yeah, I'm okay at Fall Guys, but I'm definitely not good. My
uh,
husband and my son get me a lot of crowns.
yeah, yeah. I have like only made the final round out of the last 3 or 4 weeks we played that I've joined y'all like twice. Like my biggest thing is like I found the Ghostbusters suit and I was like, "Oh, this is Ghostbusters. I like
Yeah,
it." So that's my victory, a moral fashion victory in the
there
game.
you go.
So, but I think you're pretty solid at the game.
Yeah,
Um for sure. And speaking, if y'all did not know, what we're talking about is Ninja Guy X, who was on he had his episode back in September sometime. If you remember Maurice, that's Ninja Guy, crazy guy. He hosts a Fall Guys play along on Mondays. And it's just a really fun, relaxed full time playing Fall Guys. We play probably, I don't know, hour, 20 minutes or so. And it's just a really great time. So, Future Purple, I'm just ginning you up. Make sure you put Ninja Guy's channel in there in case anybody wants to follow and subscribe and like. Um, I cannot promise that there will not be a little kid tearing you up in Fall Guys. I'm pretty sure Little Million is like 6 or 7, and he destroys us. But it's still a really fun time to play. So if you have, it's cross platform, it's a free to play
yeah,
game,
yeah,
and you just want to play with someone on Mondays at it's actually at 8 p.m. Eastern, just like my
yeah,
show. 8
yeah.
p.m. must Eastern on Mondays. Purple put it in there. Future Purple put it in there. So, but speaking of Ninja Guy, speaking of the Canadian, clan, like how did you all come together? Because you all are very tight knit. And if Robolica's watching, Robolica, if y'all do not remember, Robolica knitted me a Lamote character, and it's up there. So thank you so much, Robolica. It's up there.
Oh,
The
yeah, oh my gosh, I see the spots.
yeah, that's
They're
that's
so
her
cute.
voice, so and ever since then, I was like, "Oh my god," so I keep it dear to me. But
Yeah.
how did you all come together?
Well, I started in the Scarmy. I think it was a month or two after they kind of formed. So I wasn't there from the very beginning, but not long after. And I've so many times I've tried to remember how exactly it started. It was just kind of a natural progression. I think I followed El Babbins on Twitter for like deals, and somehow I came across somebody there, and I just kind of followed the path to this community. And then I started watching John's streams. He was streaming Stadia, which I hadn't heard of at the time.
Don't worry, a
Uh,
lot of people still haven't heard of it, but,
It's true.
Oh,
Um, and at first, I mean, I just really like John because a lot of streamers I find are just loud and screaming, and it's just like, okay, I don't want to be screamed at. I want to watch the game. I just, it's too. But John is always so calm, cool, collected, and funny, and just
yes.
it's just like it's a really relaxing time. And the camaraderie in the chat was it's always so pleasant, and people are really funny and very nice to each other. And I just kept started watching his streams, and I joined his Discord, and then we just got to talking, and just became one of the Skarmy. And Ninja Guy, we met him. It was the Stadia Community Championships. He was playing
Yes.
Kaze and on like killing all the leaderboards.
Yes.
Yeah. And him and John started their Stadium Connect North channel. So we got to know him really well. And yeah, just kind of naturally progressed from there. But yeah, we were a really close community. They're really good people. Really good people.
No, and if
Yeah.
y'all don't know, Future Purple put John Scar's channel, and we're gonna try to get John. He just moved, and I know he was
Yeah.
sick there for a while, and he just does a ton of giveaways. If Rouster's in chat, Rouster wins like every single time on his channel. Like I swear, like Rouster's entire gaming library comes from like John Scar's. I'm pretty sure of it. Just kidding, Rouster. I'm joking with you. But John's just a great guy, and he's a veteran as well. And so definitely looking forward to having him on the show here pretty soon. So I'll put that in the chat as well. And in the description. So I'll put all these links, Ninja Guy and John Scars, in the description of this video. So you ran across Ninja Guy, and Ninja Guy's like a pretty quirky, funny guy too, right? Like that's what I think is so cool. What I think is so cool about Ninja Guy is like, oh, touch that. Is it's like he's so like so nice of a guy. It's
Yeah.
like really hard to be upset with him,
You can't.
and I remember it's a funny story. Ninja Guy will probably laugh at this, but during this year's Stadius or Cloud Gaming, whatever the Cloud Gaming Championships, there was a game and that we all played because Ninja Guy was kind of like he was like one of the referees or something, and the game kept glitching on me, and I kept playing for like 3 to 4 hours to try to get this to work. And if Ambi's in chat, Ambi will attest to this that I was very upset. I sent the organizers like kind of a rude message, like, "You're wasting my time, don't do this." And Ninja Guy comes back, he's like, "We're so sorry, blah, blah," and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't be upset with these people for this." So I thought that was a really like, he's just a great guy, really speaks to kind of the community that really John Scars like cultivated and still
Yeah.
does,
Yeah.
and it's just a really great thing. So if you're not into the yelling, there is or the getting upset, the console wars, the random like my gaming thing is better than your gaming.
Yeah.
There is a group of gamers, adult gamers who really just have a great time uh,
Yeah.
there. Um, and Zarina, I will for my channel, Shades of Purple. I love interviewing people. If you come to my playthroughs, it is definitely adult rated. So if you're not into that, Sean Carnes is very rated G channel. Not the I don't know when we get some of the people in chat there, it gets a little wild on Sundays. But that's purple.
No, but that's
So
okay too. That's good too. I like it. I wish I had spent more time watching yours because every time I watch yours, I love it. It's you're so engaging. You're really funny. You definitely know your stuff, and you always have really interesting people on, and you play really fun games. So I love watching your channel. I need to watch the I need to watch
no,
the older ones. I watched a few in the last few weeks because I was like, I need to watch more of her stuff. I love her stuff. So I don't mind. It's not that I mind language or whatever. That doesn't bother me. I mean, I work in IT. I'm like one of the only females. I hear
what?
everything.
No, she was about to let whoa. So you are actually like in technology, the industry,
Yeah.
as one of the only women um, like, doing your like, how cool is that? Super cool. Um, if you don't mind, like, how did you get into like, were you, like, obviously you played games, so IT natural fit, or were you doing something totally different and then jumped into IT? Like,
Well, kind of both. On the personal side, I was always into IT. Like I learned a lot about computers and everything through my brother and through my dad. They were very knowledgeable, so I was always on the IT side. But for myself, I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. I was like, well, I'm good at math, so I'll do something with numbers. So I got my degree in accounting. But it was yeah, so it wasn't really my thing so much. But then eventually I realized, okay, no, I want to be a teacher. Because when I was a little kid, I wanted to teach. I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to teach math because I was good at numbers. So that makes sense. Math, teaching, put them together. So I went to McGill. I hear that you know some McGillians. Go
I
McGill.
do, can't represent.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
of
yeah, I have my ring, my McGill ring here.
one of
Can't really see
the
it.
top universities in Canada,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Very
I'm very
highly
proud.
regarded internationally, not just in Canada. So
Hmm.
definitely. So
Yeah.
you went.
Yeah. I studied teaching English as a second language. I got my bachelor degree, but during my stage, so it's a Montreal French term for internship. We call it
So you're
stagiaire.
Quebecois. You're like from the
Yeah,
Quebec.
Quebecois, yeah, from
Yeah.
Montreal. Yeah, born and raised
Montreal.
Montreal, yeah.
Oh my god. I
Uh,
love Montreal. I've
it's a
never
great city.
I probably love it for the wrong reason because, you have a really interesting looking casino in Montreal, and I've never lost money there, ever.
Oh,
Yeah, so, like, I love Montreal for that reason.
it's
But if
not a
y'all
bad reason. We have a
Yeah,
good casino.
no, it is amazing, but if y'all have not been to Montreal, I highly, highly try to get up there. It is a beautiful all Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, you all have some very beautiful
Yeah,
cities.
yeah.
So, that
I
is
I'm proud to be from Montreal. Montreal is a really, really great city. We have the casino, we have La Ronde. It's an amusement park that's really great. We have a mountain that's beautiful. We have the cultures. It's just a melting pot of different cultures. It's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
The
I mean, I
underground
myself,
city, you have
yeah, the
underground
underground city,
city, yeah, underground
which is
city.
really great. I work near the underground city, and in the winter, because it gets really cold up here, you can just go for a walk and go shopping and not step a foot outside
No,
during lunch.
it's
So it's fantastic. I love it.
no, and it's
There's a lot of
clean.
trail.
It's a clean city.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very clean
Well,
and
most areas. There are some areas that aren't aren't so much. It's a big range.
yeah.
Yeah, but the underground city is really clean. Yeah,
Yeah, and another thing I like about Montreal, I'm just gonna and if y'all do not know what the underground city is, it's like an underground, like, mall, basically, and it's
yeah,
connected by different, subways for the most part,
yeah,
right? Yep,
yeah. For the
and
most
and
part,
they're
yeah.
all there. Uh, but for any fans of Ghostbusters, the actual facade of the hotel of the apartment of Ghostbusters 1 that, gets destroyed and everything, that is actually a building in Montreal. I didn't know that. So I love I like when I went and someone told me that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love this." So, yes, kudo points for Montreal.
Yeah, a lot of movies are filmed here. We see it pretty often downtown, like where the streets are kind of closed off, and you see all the movie trailers, and there are little signs with code names for the movies that they're filming there. I think that happens a lot in New York too. It happens a lot in Montreal. There are a lot
Yeah.
of it's a pretty big
New
industry
York.
here for.
Don't.
New York's fun. I've been there a bunch of times. I love New York. I like New York a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where was I going? I
So,
was talking
IT.
Montreal. Yes, IT. So yeah, so I was teaching. I didn't actually teach once I graduated. I was 3 years into my 4 year degree when I just realized that I couldn't teach emotionally. I couldn't handle the social work aspect of it. I like there were a lot of kids that were really troubled. There was one kid in particular. He threatened to commit suicide. And not to me, it was to another teacher, but he was one of my students. And I don't want to get too much into details, but when they eventually sent the police to his home, everything that he had said was true. like he had a rope, it was ready, it was, and I realized that if he had come to me and I didn't take him seriously, like at first that teacher hadn't, but then she eventually called the police. I don't know how I'd live with myself. I can't do that. I wanted to teach, I wanted to really, like, especially math. I find math is such it's a subject where you have to get it. You can't just memorize. You can't just, okay, well, I'll just take this formula and plug in numbers. No, really have to understand it. And I had a way of helping. I used to tutor my friends in math. I had a way of helping them to really just get it, and then they could just shine on their own after, And I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that for more people. But once I was there, once I was teaching, because we had our internships that were like 16 weeks long. You really get to know the students very well. You have a good relationship with them. And I just realized I couldn't handle that anymore. But I'm not a quitter. And I was learning a lot from the program. So I completed it and I graduated. But while I was there, because I was in school full time, I needed a job full time that had flexible hours. So I started working at a help desk in IT. I had enough knowledge, not educationally, but in my own personal background to be able to get the job. So I started working in IT, and I loved working in IT. I really enjoyed it. I love the people. The help desk not so much, but I wasn't there for too long. But it gave me a really good. It was like the McDonald's, like you learn a lot and then you move on your way. So I loved the community. I loved the fact that there were so many people that had similar interests, gaming, it's
A
just
lot of
everywhere.
gamers in IT.
Yeah, a lot of gamers. So when I didn't know quite what I wanted to do, I stayed in IT. So now what I do now is a little bit different from how I started. I manage data. So it's nothing having to do with gaming, unfortunately. That would be super cool. But yeah, so there are some women in my department now, but for a long time I was one of the only females. Actually, when I met my husband, I met him when I was working in IT. I was literally the only female on the floor of 80 people. Literally the only one.
I see,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
not fun, not fun. We're not gonna I'm sure there's many stories, that are both
Yeah.
pleasant and unpleasant.
Both,
So
yes. But the bathrooms were always really clean. I had a whole bathroom with lots of stalls just for me.
you know, it
I think that was one of the only benefits of being the only female.
it's a lot of the view, you're like, kind of I mean, I think when you're the only woman in a department or only anything, it doesn't have to be the only woman.
Yeah,
There's so many things you have to deal with that
yeah,
people just don't think of. And I know it gets a lot of hate, but a lot of times, like the idea of like inclusion and belonging and it
yeah,
really does make a difference because even though you may feel like you're included and belonging or
yeah,
in every you're like of course there's tons of diversity, maybe someone else doesn't, and that a
no,
lot of times brings down the environment,
yeah,
and you can maybe have a negative consequence. Maybe your joke, it's not that it's people are soft, but it may be really offensive and you don't really know what you're saying. So
yeah,
I can only imagine uh,
yeah.
what you had to put up with.
Yeah, a lot of
For
it
you.
was unintentional for sure, but there were some people that, being in IT, some people tend to just, I don't know, assume that you don't know as much. It's like, well, can I talk to somebody who knows her? Like before there was one call, I'll never forget it. As soon as I answered the phone, this was back at the help desk. The guy, oh, well, can I speak to somebody else, please? "Well, you haven't even told me what your problem was yet. Can I just, he's like, oh no, I want to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. Well, I assure you that if you give me a minute, let me know what your problem is, I can help you. And if not, I'll pass you on to somebody who can. And of course, I resolved this issue. It wasn't even complicated, but um, those were the moments that reminded me. Because, like you said, like you feel like you fit in, right? Because to me, I was a gamer in IT on a computer and surrounded by lots of things that were very familiar to me. But from the outside looking in, or from elsewhere looking in different perspectives, I wasn't one of them,
Right.
you know? And that was one of those moments that reminded me of that. Like, so yeah, for sure that happens. But for the most part, it's fun because I tend to um, I I have a lot in common with them, you know? So once we start talking and once we have a lot of common interests, we talk about games, we talk about things like that. So you become one of them, even maybe not right
Yeah.
away, but
You show your gamer cred, and you like,
yeah.
and then especially when you kind of like know more about IT subject matter, I think that's when you like people start to respect you. It's like when
Yeah.
they have a problem and you're able to like solve it, and you're very
Yeah.
confident in it, and then they're like, oh, and then it's like you start to gain credibility. That's what I find
Yeah.
in the workplace.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like that guy toward like once he realized that I knew what I was doing and he could see that we were making progress, his tone changed, you know, and he was a lot nicer to me. And he actually sent an email to my supervisor telling him what a great job I had done, and he had spoken to other people at the help desk and didn't have as great an experience, but this was a very positive one. So my manager came to me to tell me what a great job I so I it was validating only after the fact, but in the moment, it took me by surprise because to
yeah,
me, I fit in. I didn't there was no reason I couldn't do this job like anybody else, you know? So, yeah, that happens a lot, and obviously I'm not white, so I I've grown up like that too, like my father, is Indian, my mother is British, so, like, I'm a different, very unique mix, at least here. But for myself, I didn't have family here. I grew up Canadian. A lot of my friends were Italian speaking. I grew up in the Italian Montreal community. So to me, I was one of them. So it always took me by surprise when somebody treated me like I wasn't, you know, like
right.
because it's just who I was. It's always been who I am, you know. Um, and there are times where I don't even realize it right away. Like I went to a restaurant once with my husband, and one moment at one point he just looks around. He's like, "Serena, look around." It's like, "It's a restaurant. We have breakfast." I don't. He's like, "You're the only person who's not white." Like, what? Oh,
Then you're like, "Oh,
I
guess
hadn't
so."
noticed. And then that's when I see people looking at me more, you know. But like, I hadn't even noticed it until somebody pointed that out to me, you know, because to me it's a culture, and it was the same thing at work. Like, I didn't notice it until something happened, you know. But
Something happens, and then you
yeah,
start no and then it starts making you kinda, like, question things. For me,
yeah,
that happens a lot. It's like, "Wait a second, well, if I wasn't noticing, but you've now brought it to me." And so now it's like for me, it's always like this weird game of, like, trying to, like, block it out, but then it always comes back to, like, "Wait a second, like, are you doing this because of this or this?" So,
yeah. You start to question things. You really do.
yeah. So, I totally hear you on that, and we I know we jumped over it, or not necessarily jumped over, but we did go straight to end IT. First of all, I wanna say just thank you. You know, I'm a veteran, and a lot of times people will say, "Thank you for your service," right? For the military and stuff, and what I always say is like, "Thank you for your tax dollars." But, you know, because I got paid, you know, it wasn't like free. But I don't think people who teach, who have taught, especially children, get enough credit for what they have to do.
Yeah.
And Cammy, who is another, she was about a couple episodes back on. She has a live stream on Fridays. If y'all did not know, Cammy has an amazing stream on Fridays. I'm gonna put it in chat. Um,
Future purple.
Future
Put it in
Purple,
chat.
he already knows. Future Purple, put it in chat. Cammy's actually a mod, so Cammy, if I don't get it, I'll do it. I'll do it this time, okay? So, um, but she was talking about how like we take for granted that we send kids and we all think like our kids are like angels, right? You know, and unfortunately like when a lot of angels get together, there's sometimes some demons come out, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you told us a story where that wasn't even the case. You had a situation where you were like, to your point, this is a very traumatic experience. Like this is a life and death situation.
Yeah.
So you have to do everything from deal with life and death situations, deal with kids who believe they're grown, right? Because once they get into their little
Oh, yeah.
cliques and they're trying to impress each other and they're saying things that they would never say at home, you know, you're getting that. And then you're also getting, um, but yet at the same time, you need to teach them, right? Parents are
Yeah.
like, "Well, you're there to teach them." And you're like, "Well,
Yeah.
I can only do so much. You have to
Yeah.
do some too." Like, right? I
Yeah.
don't think teachers get enough recognition. So from
They
me,
don't.
in chat, if you can, if you also agree with what I'm about to say, please say thank you, Zarina, you know, for all you've done for teaching and for the kids who don't even realize like that you've done that. So thank you so much for that. It's super when I hear that, it's like super amazing. So
Yeah, but I mean, the real thanks go to the teachers who stuck in it, right? Who still do
you
it because I I I can't have more respect for them. You know, my kids are in school now and I see now too with parents giving them a hard time. Like they don't realize really how much goes into teaching. The teaching part of the teaching job is actually a very small portion of it. You know, especially when you have little kids, like they can have little bathroom accidents. They cry. You have to console them, and you know they fight, or there's a lot of pushback. You know, like you said, like kids want to press each other, so they say certain things. So a lot of it is managing people, little people, little people, and you can't see now. I'm only 5'2". I'm very short, so a lot of the little people were taller than me. But but they and they're not paid very well either, right? Teachers are not paid nearly as much as they should be. Like nurses, there are a lot of professions that they don't get enough recognition or pay, and what they go through is just it's phenomenal. So I'm always extra super supportive with the teachers, my kids' teachers, because I know what they go through, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So I also thank all the teachers out there.
Yeah.
I did it only for 4 years, and was not
Only
easy.
4 years. Only 4 years. That is like, that's quite a bit of time, to do. And so you were with the little people, the little adults, what they're humans, right? They have feelings, they're smart.
Yeah.
Um, do you sometimes feel like the gamer community is just bigger kids? Like like
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because one of the reasons I wanted to stay in teaching, even though I knew I wasn't going to teach anymore, I wanted to finish my degree was because I learned a lot about how to deal with people. And those are skills I still use today online with other gamers. You know, it's like I try to stay out of the big fights because people online are very brave when their faces don't have to be seen. There are a lot of words that are said that they may not say face to face, you know? So I try to gauge which fights are worth getting into and not. But when it comes to defending people, I am a big believer of being fair. Always like truthful, fairness. Those are very important things to me. My word is my bond. I say that a lot. Or treat others how you would want. I think in the Bible, it's do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Those are things I say a lot in my life. They're very important to me. So when I see people online ganging up on somebody or being just super mean, I have to say something and defend them as best as I can. So yeah, I do see a lot of that. Gamers are big babies sometimes, but I mean, like any community, you have the range, right? You have the range of the super immature people, and you also have the really, really big-hearted, like the Johns and the ninjas and the Rebelicas and Granites and like all those people. Like there's a big range, like anywhere else, um, and uh, and life skills that I've learned from other teachers have taken me through so many different experiences and made me stronger for them. Does that make any sense?
that
I feel
makes
like that
perfect sense. That makes perfect. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, you said a lot of things that either like resonated, reflect like it makes me reflect, makes me like, oh, there's another one who feels the same way, and also like how appreciative on so many different levels. So uh definitely it totally makes sense. And I know I said we were only gonna go an hour, so I know we're at 105.
oh,
And
I
and
didn't notice.
yeah, and so, we can continue, because I still have a couple more questions because
Go ahead. Okay.
you are, um, you're starting to co-host shows, right? So before you are in chat, you're always there, you know, your quirky comments and your quick little one-liners. I see when you're going back and forth with people. I love it. Um, but you start to co-host. How did you get into this? And like, where do you see it taking off? And if y'all did not know, we're premiering because Zarina is actually doing an interview now. So Future Purple put that also in chat so people can go see it. She's interviewing um Evan, right? From our
No, it's not an interview. It's I'm a guest on. So Evan is from Dead Drop Studios. He created the Outbreak series,
right.
and I'm just a guest on his show while he talks about the new game they're creating, Shades of Horror. So Future Purple, you could put that link in the chat.
Great. We'll put that in there. Shades
Yeah,
Evan.
Shades of Horror on Twitch. Yeah, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. It'll
Awesome.
be myself and Miss Storm. He's another guy in the community, and we'll be the guests on the stream. Yeah.
Super cool. I know y'all
So
are
unfortunately, I'm
huge.
not in chat with you guys right now, but I will watch the
Oh,
um
don't worry. We're
yeah,
gonna be causing a
and
ruckus.
we'll get
Don't
done.
worry.
Yes, and
Definitely.
I'll come back and watch the with the
Um,
chat on so I can see what I missed.
oh my god. It's you get to see all the heart emojis and everything else for everything that we
Heart
create.
emojis back.
And so you're starting to you're a guest you're gonna be a guest on his show, but you have also co-hosted, right? I know
Yes,
I've
yeah,
talked to Ninja before and he
yeah,
said, "Yeah, we're trying to do this." So do you see this as something you're gonna do more of?
yeah. I think so.
Maybe your own channel? Uh, you
I'm
know,
working up to it.
you're what are you talking about? You're like really good. Like we need more women streamers.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true. That's true. We need more of us. I've always been really, really shy. I guess I never really had to talk to many people out there because I always had my twin, you know, I always had somebody to talk to, so I didn't have to make friends as much. And online communities were never my thing. Like before I met the Scarmy, I never like MIRC, like I never did that. I couldn't I could never talk to people I hadn't met in for some reason. Like I needed a reason to talk to somebody and to go on to a chat room. Hi, where are you from? It was like just always very superficial conversations. Like I could never make any real connections, you know? That's one of the reasons the Scarmy means so much to me. Like I joined them, it was during the whole COVID thing, the beginning of COVID. And we obviously weren't out of the house for very much, you know? And um, I built these real connections with people online, and I had never done that before. They're just really, really, really good people. Um, I I I don't know. I'm not antisocial. I am an introvert. But I am very shy, and I'm working on that. So co-hosting, I think, is a good way to get my feet wet. Um, get a little bit of experience on camera without being too much of the attention. You know, like you're kind of sharing the spotlight with me, right? Literally, right now. So thank you for having me on. And I honestly, I really love your show. And I'll be on it more.
Oh,
Um,
no, like I said, we do crazy, but I think you should make a shirt. I'm not antisocial, I'm an introvert. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. Um, there's a few people in chat who actually know me in real life, shout out to Wit, you know, uh, Ambi for sure. There's a few Rouse Dry game with him. And what I will say is like I'm also people may not realize this, but like if you ever Project Storm saw this side of me. If you ever talk to me like not here, like I'm a lot I'm a lot more reserved. I'll say it like that. You could probably a military chick, like probably like it's like that's who I am. And so I will say that I appreciate the ability to connect with people. And I tell people like my game streams are not so much about the game as people find out if you come Sunday. It's
Mhm.
not about that, but it's about me to connect with people and
Yeah.
to socialize.
Yeah.
And so that's how I see it personally. So I think I'm looking forward to your seeing more of you and engaging, the community that you're going to build as well. So,
Thank you.
really
It
looking
means a
forward.
lot.
Yes. No, for sure, and we have definitely, there's people in chat, as soon as as soon as if you ever make that jump to making your own channel or your own show, um, let us know and we are going to blast it out. So, for sure,
Will
we'll
do.
do that. But, with that, you did say you sometimes co-host. Is there, like, a
Yeah.
schedule to your co-hosting or any just
Not yet.
not yet?
Not yet. Well, Ninja and I are still working on an idea, I guess, to co-stream. The Fall Guys thing kind of naturally evolved into it because at first we were just playing casually off stream, just online, a bunch of us every Monday, and then Ninja was like, "Well, do you guys mind if we stream?" No, not at all, you know. So we just ended up becoming a regular stream thing. But I'm not like the camera's not on. I'm just playing. Like you can hear me. I'm in the Discord, the voice chat, so you can hear me. But I still want to figure out what we're gonna do for an actual co-stream. But I know he has a lot going on right now. He has a lot of premieres that he has to finish, and then he's gonna do the whole Kingdom Hearts thing, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, he's
Yes.
gonna start it from the beginning, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. We see each other around often enough that you'll find out,
Yeah, for
and I also have
sure.
to get over my nerves a little bit. So the more I'm on camera, the more I'm on stream, the more comfortable I get. So we'll
Well,
get
I think you're gonna
there.
do I think you're gonna do awesome, and there's an amazing community,
Yeah.
my chat is I don't consider it my we're all part of a community, a lot of them have channels of their own, um, and it's a great, group of people out there. I see you, Simpleton, Rouster, Mr. Urban Roll, Cammy, Ambi, Ja, which is we're all kind of in each other's streams anyways, so, Lo-Fi Monk and Squids and there's so many great people. Holtz. I can just keep going on and on. There's so many great people out there. Sanchez. I'm trying to make sure I don't mostly Martinez. I'm trying to
Mostly
make sure.
Martinez, yeah,
Yeah,
Hezekiah.
Hezekiah, of course.
So cute, I love his channel.
Yes, they're
Future
all
Purple, chat.
yes, oh yes, they have. So Hezekiah has his own channel for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So we definitely the reviews he does and the gameplays he does. So really looking forward to that. Um, but I could talk. I'm sure we're gonna bring you back on eventually. When you're big and you have your own channel, what you've been doing. But anything else you want to tell the group and about you and what's going on? Or floor is yours.
Too much attention.
Take the spotlights away.
Spotlight off.
Yeah. So
Well, not that I could think of right now, but you guys will see me around for sure. I'm not in the chat today, but I will be when I'm not on live. Um, I don't know. Check out John's channel. I mean, he's
John's
moving, like Purple said. Yeah, he's in the middle of the move right now, so he's not online much right now. But Ninja, he's online early in the mornings, so not a lot of people are up at that time. But he has a lot of really fun streams that he's done. He's doing a lot of premieres right now. And check out the Kingdom Hearts. I'm talking more about other people than I am about myself.
no. Well, you can always say, shout out to Tears of the Kingdom coming.
Tears of the Kingdom. I can't wait. Okay, did you pre-order the collector's edition?
I've done pre-order, I've done digital, I've done the thing where I've spent probably more than enough on this. Like I'm gonna go to the Nintendo store to get a hard copy. So yes, for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm replaying um not replaying all of Breath of the Wild right now, but I am kind of going back and because I have basically all the scenes. So I'm looking at that. And I
Yeah.
told you about Hyrule Warriors. If you have
Yeah.
not played Hyrule Warriors, y'all go watch a YouTube video if you don't want to just see it.
I
Um,
do have to pay more attention to Hyrule Warriors. I do have
yeah.
to do that. But I'm not going to replay Breath of the Wild from the beginning, but I do want to finish the DLCs because I never finished the DLCs.
If you can one of them's really solid, like, right, there's one where you're going through dungeons and you get a pretty cool prize at the end of that. I'm not gonna spoil that. You probably already know what it is, but,
Hmm.
if you already beat it, I'm not gonna ruin that for people who have not beat that. But the survival one, you know,
Yes,
that one
it's hard.
is so hard. Like,
Yeah.
you have, like, no health,
Nothing.
start each level, like, with nothing,
Nothing.
and then it just gets progressively harder and harder, and it's not like you can just speed run it, right? Maybe some people can, but I'm like, "Okay, let me camp out here. Let me, like, not do it." I mean, I'll spend hours. I have not beat that DLC. So, kudos to you if you have.
Not
Um,
yet.
not yet, not yet. That
But
one's
I'm
a
gonna
tough
try because I need to get used to the controls again. I don't. It's been a while since I played. Um, so I'm gonna do that. So maybe we'll talk more about Tears of the Kingdom when it comes
Tears
out.
of the King for sure.
Yeah.
Coming to you May 12th. I hear you. So you have all the stuff. You have the collector's edition. You have everything.
Yeah,
So
the amiibo. Yeah.
yeah, you have and y'all know I will be streaming Tears of the Kingdom. And what I've been doing lately is I've been giving out a free copy of the game I'm streaming. So more to come for that for you all who have Switch. I will be giving out a free copy of Tears of the Kingdom. Um, but thank you so much, Zarina, and just for coming on. And for everybody with me, I will be streaming this Sunday. I think it's going to be the last time I stream The Quarry. So we'll see. This is the time, y'all know, the last one of these games. That's when everybody dies. I'm gonna try to keep some of them live. Apologies for people who like the character who died, but she made her own choices. I didn't. So doing that, and then we're gonna follow that up with Ash, and I will be playing something. So y'all look for that. And then next week, we will have another guest, another great interview, and just looking forward to that. But again, to everybody, thank you so much for the support. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. And thank you to our guest Zarina for jumping in today. And I know you're probably like a little bit little spotlight, but we can definitely you are really good on camera, and like I said, you're a pretty good gamer as well. You're very knowledgeable, and we just need more women out there, especially women of color, I guess is what we say a lot. So thank you so much for just being a face and a voice for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And for everyone else, it's that time. I don't care where you game, how you game, why you game, when you game, how long you game, what you game on. As long as you're gaming, you're good with me. And as always, this is Purple Haze, and the proof is in the playing. All right. Thank you all, and I'll see you around. All right. Later.